Hey, this is my Ted K movie review about the Unabomber. Got my little script here. This is so this movie was directed by Tony Stone, and it features Charlton Copley, who is a South African actor from the movie Elysium, is who I remember him from, and I feel he had a stellar performance in this movie. It was very well shot, and it's got this kind of old school vibe which takes you right there. It was the right amount. It was awesome. It was gangster. And so, yeah, I wanted to share this review plus. It's a little bit about the movie, but also about the topic. And so a little bit about Kaczynski. I wanted to know a little bit more, so I did research. I didn't know a lot about him prior to the movie coming out. It was something that I was in like grade 7 when he was arrested, so it was kind of a bit before my time, and it was like not exactly on my radar. However, I find it quite fascinating right now, and it ties in with a few other subjects, so I find myself compelled or inspired to share this stuff. I'll tell you something, I've studied this for a day, but I definitely have some feelings that I would like to share. It's great. I think it's a great topic. So let's get into it. Theodore Kaczynski loved animals and nature. He had a problem with people who he felt were advancing modern technology and the destruction of the environment. This is just my superficial understanding, right? There is a thing about technological slavery. He had some concerns about the way that society was going with machines, and that we've become kind of like slaves. It's like, do we work to live or do we live to work? I think along those lines anyways, which led him to a 17-year bombing campaign against. So like Unabomber, U-N-A, it stands for University and Airline Bomber. And then so universities and airline, and if you had a computer store, it was a target because I guess he felt or could see the potential for doing something to us in society which is quite removed from a natural lifestyle as he understood it. Like, he lived in a cabin in the bush and whatnot. He became a sort of a recluse for his reasons because of his critique on the way things were going. And so computer stores and gas and oil, there was like oil spills and stuff like that, super bad for the environment because he loved the environment and animals. Logging, industrialist kind of stuff, post office, because like if you were involved in something that he felt was contributing to the degradation of society, then you are essentially guilty by association. If you're involved in one of these big companies and you play some small role, but it all adds up. Yeah, and he didn't turn a blind eye to that, put it like that. So this guy, he was highly intelligent. He earned a BA in mathematics from Harvard University in 1962. He studied psychology at the University of Michigan. He got his PhD in mathematics in 1967. He was a mathematics professor, specialized in complex analysis, and had an uncanny drive to discover mathematical truth. And somebody said it's not enough to say that he was smart. So he was a professor, but then he just suddenly quit for whatever his reasons were, and he moved to a cabin in Montana where, after seeing the repeated destruction of nature, he began doing something about it, which led up to the publication of his manifesto entitled Industrial Society and Its Future, which was the result of a threat. He said, either you publish this or I am going to keep bombing. So it ended up getting published, a move that would lead to his arrest through the positive identification of his prose, meaning his writing style. It was identified by his brother, who donated the majority of the $1 million FBI reward to charity and used the rest to pay legal fees. So it's a little bit of background. So there are groups which idolize him, including some people who are termed Luddites. A Luddite is somebody who opposes the advancement of technology or just technology in general, which is something that I personally disagree with quite strongly. I mean, like, there is no going back. You know, we are here, we can only move forward, and I do believe that it needs to be a marriage of both old and new school understandings, because technology, when properly applied, alleviates mankind from menial tasks, which allows people to focus on more important endeavors. Technology can be very beautiful. I mean, this is all possible because of technology. Making YouTube videos and stuff like that, the sharing of information and perspective. So yeah, it can be very beautiful, but it can also be ugly, and I suppose that was his critique. So after watching this, I stewed on it for a brief moment, and there was a song that came to my mind. It's this one, Living on the Edge by Aerosmith. It just popped into my head, and it goes like, "There's something wrong in the world today. I don't know what it is. There's something wrong with our eyes." And so I haven't finished reading his manifesto, but from what I have read, I will say that he's not completely out to lunch. There is an inherent sickness which exists in the world today, which most people do not recognize, but there is something that is out of alignment, and it's evident if you take but a moment to look at just about anything, like the fact that people don't trust the government, the entity that is responsible for guiding society in a direction which serves the interests of the people as a whole. And this is not what's going on, you know. So clearly there's an issue in the world today, and it's huge. You just have to know what to look for. I think most people are caught up in it, so it's hard to see when you're so close to something or when you're caught up in it. But some people are able to stand back and look at it through a different lens, and so it seems like he saw this. And you just look at, like as far as sickness in the world, just look at the situation that we're in right now with COVID. Like, COVID is not the problem. COVID is the result of the problem. And like, so don't get me wrong, I do not support what he did. I do not agree with his method, but I cannot overlook the fact that when there is something going on that's huge, and those who are supposedly responsible for the direction that society takes are consistently failing to address the key issues which plague the healthy advancement of our civilization in every country, both right now and stretching back as far as records go. I mean, you know, this isn't just some conspiracy theory. There's something fundamentally wrong with the way we've been doing things and the way things are going, hence the current predicament with COVID and whatnot. And it's frustrating because at the very same time, there is so much beauty in the world. It's a bit to wrap your mind around this stuff, but like, you know, this guy specialized in complex analysis. And so sometimes there comes a time when the members of a society who see no other way take it upon themselves to bring attention to their cause through whatever means that they deem necessary, to make change, to actually see something done about something which clearly needs to be done. And so we have seen this in the Black Lives Matter movement with the riots which took place and the tearing down of statues and whatnot. We've seen this in the Every Child Matters movement with the indigenous people here in this country, and I don't know where else, but certainly here, where they burned churches because these are branches of the institution which did unspeakable things to these people. And we also see it with the trucker convoy in Canada right now. There is people who don't know what else to do, and so they protest. It's like, we're out of options. Everything that we've tried isn't working. Nobody's listening. Something must be done. So Kaczynski himself resented the fact that he was forced to do what he did, but he saw no other way. When something is so big and nobody's doing anything about it, something drastic must be done. And so, you know, when I think about it, it's like, this is also a victim mentality. And so you have to be careful with that. But when you look at it, when there's something wrong with the world today and you do know what it is, at least to some extent, like what do you do with that when you can see it? And then what do you do with that? Do nothing? That is a conundrum for every single one of us. Now, I just want to say that I do not condone any acts of violence. I do not agree with the defamation of statues or public property. I do not agree with the burning of churches or sending bombs in the mail. But I do not condemn anyone for standing up for themselves and what they think is right. I would not do what they did. I could never. It's not my way. But I also feel that their existence is valid as members of a society which has pushed them too far, where they need to use drastic measures just in order to be heard. And so I take my hat off to those who took one for the team, even though it's not the way. As what they did, as barbaric as it seems to have been a step that was needed to be taken in order to call attention to a much bigger problem than the horrific acts of violence which they unfortunately felt compelled to do. You know, it's tough to say that sometimes something has to happen when nothing is happening. So I leave you with that. This is my 2 cents. It is based on my thoughts and feelings of a movie and some research, soul search, and this is my testimony. So I love you. Take care. Farewell and amen.